Thank you today. Okay, before I begin, I just want to say a quick thank you to Daniel. This morning, as we were preparing to leave our home, our cat Enzo was there. And Enzo is very much family, and I really wanted him here. So thank you for kitten on the keys. So why gratitude? I had to laugh at myself, because when I last spoke here a year and a half ago, that was my topic. And it almost made me decide to change my focus. However, gratitude kept drawing me back. It is a multifaceted and far-ranging topic. So for our time today, I'm only going to focus on 3 aspects of it. It's also important for me that in preparation for this morning, I reached out to a variety of people, sharing my topic and asking them how gratitude has moved within their lives. This is essential for me because it resonates strongly with what we as Unitarian Universalists believe to be one of our wisdom sources, our individual and shared journeys. So hearing each other's stories is essential. And there will be shared stories from people who responded to my question, and you will be invited to participate in a conversation when I complete some of my thoughts. So, I want to focus on gratitude as practice first, then gratitude with hearts and eyes wide open, and finally, gratitude's drawing power as a way of being and living. Sorry, my foot keeps, there we go. The first is gratitude as practice, and one of the people who responded to me was Jim Gardner, a long-term member of this church. And he shared that he appreciates gratitude deeply. Although not a natural way of being for him, he has developed a gratitude practice. He shared the need to be aware of the benefits and outcomes that gratitude can bring. He believes that people's natural responses range from fight and flight and freeze and fix. Now, Jim added fix. And that's because it's a big one for him. A question he often puts to himself is, how can I make things better? Jim works at being fully satisfied with what is, and at the same time be excited for what may yet come. An attitude of gratitude that gives him joy and might just be what he needs to stay connected without being weighed down. Now, common research studies by various psychological journals, including the US National Library of Medicine and others, would certainly back much of what Jim has shared. And just some of the potential benefits of having a practice of gratitude are boosting happiness, reducing stress, improving sleep, enhancing self-awareness, cultivating optimism, strengthening relationships, improving physical health, and encouraging resilience. Now, my focus today is not on these studies, although that would make an interesting conversation one day. I'm more interested in sharing stories from people and what those stories may teach us about living out of gratitude. It's one of the reasons why the leadership training series, revised by the Canadian Unitarian Council, began with an invitation for people to share their spiritual and gratitude practices. Now, for those of you who don't know UUs, when I say the word spiritual, hackles can sometimes rise, and people can have negative definitions in their mind. So when Reverend Ann Barker and I taught the last leadership training series together, She invited people to consider the term sustaining practices if you didn't like spirituality. Because from our perspective, whether it's a spiritual practice, a gratitude practice, or a sustaining practice, it's essential to maintain perspectives in challenging situations, to gain insight, to aid in deep listening with each other, and opening avenues for creative responses. Now that's my first point about practice of gratitude, and that seeks to develop a path which is not naive, but walks into our world with eyes and hearts wide open. And to exemplify this second point, I'm going to turn to a story from one of my sisters, Tara Williamson, and the power of living well within a world comprised of the full range, from the wonderful to the tragic. I'd like to request that the recording be turned off for now. And thanks to AFQ. Tara's closing comments regarding a state of being grateful and how that has saved her life over and over again is a great segue to my final section. Gratitude as strength building with a power to draw us to engage in life in ways which foster greater access for all to share in lives blessed by such positive forces. I'm going to turn now to a Facebook post on July 11 by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a congresswoman for New York, 100% people funded, no lobbyist money. Alexandria was recently asked this question: given the recent challenges in community, country, and world, are we screwed? What follows is in part the post Ms. Ocasio-Cortez shared. My honest view is that things are likely going to get harder before they get better, and we will need to stick together. What is important in moments like these is not to think in binaries: good, bad, screwed, not screwed. There is no doubt that things are bad, some things really bad, and they may likely get worse. But that does not preclude the fact, slowly but surely, that some good can be growing as other things fall apart. This is not some syrupy, sweet, silver lining case for optimism. Rather, it is about a choice all of us will have to make, consciously or unconsciously. Will I be a person who is safe and creates good for others? Much of our work is about scaling existing solutions, many created by small, committed groups of people that others haven't even seen or heard about or even knew existed. While we can't change the world in a day, we do have the power to make our own to make our own world within our four walls or our own blocks better. We can grow from there with the faith that somewhere out there, everywhere, others are doing the same thing, and we will come together. So will your engagement hurt or heal, build or bring down? There is no neutral choice. We can do our best to make good ones and learn and do better the next day. You are allowed to be scared, to grieve, to be angry, but you are also allowed to create good, to be soft, and enjoy the small reprieves. Struggle less as long as we do. Thank you to Alexandria. Her thoughts highlight some essential factors characterizing a living out of gratitude. Situations may be difficult, if not horrific, yet people can draw on the strengths of their own positive practices and then link up in ever-widening circles with others' actions until we have a force creating positive not only for individuals and small groups, but perhaps, as Richard Wagamese said much earlier, for the planet as a whole. Now, I've invited others in my pre-talk emails, as well as all of you shortly, to share some of your stories. So I wish to join in that vulnerability and share one of my own, which highlights some of what Alexandria had to teach. From the time I was born until I was 9, 6 of my immediate family members died. Now, my clan didn't know how to deal with that type of ongoing trauma, and many of them thought that we as a family must have done something terrible for such a high death rate to happen. Into this mix of death's constant presence were added psychological, physical, and sexual abuse, hard gender roles, and a devaluing of women's contribution. A bit much for a kid of 9 to process or deal with. And in the midst of these challenges came some gifts. One of them, nature, became a source of power and healing. Most often during dark night walks, alone through the fields, feeling wrapped in care by a star-studded dark night, much like a quilt. Learning to tell my own story, even if at first only to myself, aided in naming the wrong, discovering and holding on to what was good. Now, part of that journey has included learning to set boundaries in relation to a birth family still entrenched in abusive patterns. I don't wish them ill, but I have taken steps to create space to cease being hurt and to foster healthier ways of being. I come out of a high clan background, and as I refused to hold the violent family secret, I was alienated and slandered as a family-hating person. So I lost one family, but I gained another. As I learned to share these stories of harm and healing with others, I developed a network of loved ones who shared some similar challenges. And from the mental health world, I learned a term which helped me to acknowledge these other people. They are my defined family. Naming and owning that family has enriched my life beyond anything I could have imagined as a child. I've so much to be grateful for from a family that now includes, but is not limited to, Caucasian, Inuvialut, Innu, Anishinaabe, Métis, Black, Caucasian, Buddhist, UU, Islam. The list goes on as my journey continues. And this gown from a Black family member is my symbol of that phenomenally rich family network. Another outgrowth of growing strength of my defined family is that I sought to face one of my fears and engage with those perpetrating some of the violence from which I had survived and now thrive. For 15 years, it was my privilege to work with small groups all across Canada who were seeking to support those assessed at high risk to reoffend violently. when they were trying to learn to live healthy. That's a long story. Just know for now that eventually Canada had 22 such programs working across the country. And thanks to those with the violence cycles who took the risk to seek help, volunteers in the community who supported them, supporting consulting professionals, as well as growing circles in community, there was an actual reduction in recidivism and violence among these people of 85%. Just one story of how living out of gratitude may indeed grow us to places we'd never before thought possible. So, how do we share this power? This is where I'm going to invite you to become involved. By telling our stories, by listening to each other with care, potentially linking up with others, and with eyes and hearts wide open, risking taking more steps on this journey of life. Wagami's comments that a gift is not a gift until it is shared. And that's why I invited you to bring symbols of gratitude, and some of you have put them up here. Others of you have them with you. And if you don't worry about it. When we move into time to share, you'll be invited to share some of your thoughts. You don't need to have an object with you. So, in a moment, we're going to break into groups of 3. And I ask 3 because we're going to try to do this in 8 minutes. And I really want a couple of minutes for every person to share. That's in person and online as well. All of you are invited to participate, and anyone is welcome to opt out and spend their time in their own reflections. There is only welcome here, not force. Remember from our story of Bear in the multi-gen wisdom time, when he discovered that everyone's contribution is important, even if his cupboard was bare for a feast. There are no gifts too big or gifts too small. We are all needed as we grow towards greater well-being. So, I invite you to break into small groups of 3 and to consider, if you have a symbol of gratitude, sharing what that symbol is. If not, share what gratitude means to you and how it affects your life. So, if I could invite the person in charge of the online participants to give them the option to break into groups, and all of you to choose, stand up, move around, choose a couple people to talk with. Please and thank you. I will call you back. And remember, you have the option to do your own conversation or be on your own. Thank you. Family, start again. So I want to begin my closing comments by saying once again, heartfelt thank you. And from my Innu family, who have at least 3 different ways of saying thank you, I want to give a special one to you. Kinanan Skumitten. There's Egase, there's Egosane. Those are thank you between friends, that's Egase, or Egosane is more formal if I'm thanking someone for a gift or an elder. Kinanan Skumitten is a thank you that is given either to the Creator or to someone with whom you have shared life. So that is my thank you to all of you. My wish for everyone is that our shared stories may help build our individual strength, wisdom, and creativity. I hope that sharing stories unites us with others and aids us in growing towards greater well-being. A well-being which, as Richard Wagame said, that is not only for ourselves, but perhaps for the planet as a whole. So keep sharing the stories and keep being willing to take steps in continued life and growth. Thank you.